In this lecture, we will discuss about major function of micronutrients. There are 17 essential nutrients, and these 17 essential nutrients are categorized mainly in two groups: macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And these macronutrients have several function in plant. Similarly, micronutrients Fe, Cu, Mn, Zn, molybdenum, boron, chlorine, and nickel have many function in the plant. So, in this lecture, we will discuss about the major function of macronutrients. So, what are the main function of macronutrients? And these are C, H, O, N, P, K, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. So, first of all, if we talk about carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and these carbon, hydrogen, oxygen are essential elements of organic structure, whether it is cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, carbohydrate, protein, fat, lipids, whatever organic structures are there. These organic structures are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So, these are very important, and these three elements constitute about 95% of body of plant. So, their major function is in body buildup, organic structure development. And if we talk about these nutrients are actually mineral nutrients derived from soil. So, that is why they are called as a mineral nutrient, and these three are derived either from air or water, not considered under mineral nutrients. So, these are nutrients, but these are mineral nutrients. So, we will discuss about one by one major role of nutrients. First one is nitrogen, and nitrogen is essential for formation of amino acids. And in plant there are 20 amino acids, and these amino acids are essential or building block of protein. So, protein formation is due to these amino acids. So, nitrogen is essential for protein formation, and protein are essential component of plant. So, that is why the major important role of nitrogen is in protein formation via amino acids. And there in a protein there are many amino acids, but if we talk about number are 20. So, first and important role of nitrogen is in protein formation. Then another role of this nitrogen is in nucleotide. Nucleotide, these are DNA and RNA. Actually, these nucleotides are made up of phosphate ion plus nucleoside, and these nucleosides are made up of ribose sugar plus nitrogen base. So, here the role of nitrogen in nucleotide DNA and RNA is in this nitrogen base, and this nitrogen base are two type, purine and pyrimidine. So, these are two nitrogen base, and in purine adenine and guanine. These are two nitrogen base of purine, and pyrimidine, thymine and cytosine. So, there are 4 nitrogen base, 2 in purine and 2 in pyrimidine, and then there is a bonding between adenine and thymine and guanine and cytosine. Here double bond, here triple bond. But in case of RNA, uracil is present in place of thymine. So, uracil is another pyrimidine base that occur in RNA. So, in this way nitrogen is component of nucleotide. So, DNA, whether it is DNA or RNA, nitrogen is essential part, and there is no cell functioning without DNA and RNA. That's why nitrogen is essential. And one important thing is that in nucleotide phosphate is also present. So, phosphorus is also essential component of these nucleotides. So, this is another important role of nitrogen in formation of DNA and RNA. Then another role of nitrogen is in chlorophyll formation. In chlorophyll, carbon is there, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and magnesium is central molecule, and with magnesium molecule 4 atoms of nitrogen are attached. So, and then there is a carbon chain with the nitrogen, carbon chain structures are there. So, in this way nitrogen is essential for formation of chlorophyll. Whenever there is a nitrogen deficiency, then this chlorophyll formation will not take place. So, this is the reason that whenever there is a deficiency of nitrogen, there is loss of chlorophyll or poor formation of chlorophyll, and this is known as chlorosis. And there is chlorosis, loss of chlorophyll. So, green color of leaves is lost, and then yellowing of leaves. So, this is the reason that why there is a yellowing or chlorosis under nitrogen deficiency. So, this is another important role, and 4 atoms are attached. So, here important thing is that magnesium is also required for chlorophyll formation. Then another important role of nitrogen is in hormones, growth hormones, auxins and cytokinin. And under the proper supply of nitrogen, there is a more formation of auxin and cytokinin. So, that is why there is cell division and cell elongation. So, this is the reason that when we apply nitrogen, there is more plant height because of more cell division and cell elongation due to more formation of growth hormone. And one vitamin is vitamin B is also synthesized under proper supply of nitrogen. So, in this way nitrogen is important for formation of hormone as well as for vitamin B. So, this is important. Cell division, whenever there is a nitrogen deficiency, plants remain short. So, proper plant height can be achieved by the application of nitrogen. So, this was the role of nitrogen in chlorophyll formation, in nucleotide, protein, hormones and vitamins, as well as in cell division. Now, another micronutrient is phosphorus, and this phosphorus is essential for formation of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So, this is adenosine, and this is tri means 3, and this is phosphate. So, phosphate ions are there, and this adenosine is related with the nitrogen. So, nitrogen is also important for ATP formation, but energy release, as far as energy release is concerned, then this phosphate group is responsible, because there is a release or change in phosphate group, adenosine diphosphate, triphosphate, monophosphate. So, in structure there is a release of phosphate, and with the release of phosphate energy is released. So, as far as structure is concerned, nitrogen and phosphorus both are required, but as far as energy release is concerned, energy formation is concerned, this phosphate is important. That is why there is a more significance of phosphorus in energy release, but as far as ATP formation is concerned, both are essential, nitrogen and phosphorus. and carbon, hydrogen are also involved in organic structure. And how much energy is released? And energy released is 7.3 kilocalorie per mole of ATP. So, if 1 mole of ATP is there, then it gives 7.3 kilocalorie energy, and it can be converted into joule. If it is multiplied by 4.8, then it is converted into kilojoule. So, it is approximate about 30 or 31 kilojoule. So, this is the energy. So, major or important role of phosphorus is in energy release. So, when phosphate ions are released, then energy is released. So, that is why this is known as energy currency. This phosphorus is known as energy currency. So, phosphate ions are attached like that: phosphate, then phosphate, then phosphate. So, it is triphosphate. When this phosphate is released, then energy is released, then this phosphate is released, then further energy is released. So, one phosphate is there, adenosine monophosphate, two phosphates, so ADP, adenosine diphosphate. If three phosphates are present, then ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Another important role of phosphorus is in nucleotide formation. We have discussed RNA and DNA as in case of nitrogen. These nucleotides are made up of nucleoside plus phosphate. So, here this phosphorus is important for the RNA structure and DNA structure. Another role of phosphorus is in formation of phytates. And these phytates are salts, calcium, particularly calcium, magnesium and other salts of phytic acids. Phytic acid. And this phytic acid is made up of phosphorus, and this is the major storage form of phosphorus in seeds. So, stored in seeds. So, this is the important part or function of phosphorus, that it makes phytates, phytic acid, and stored in this form in seed. So, there are three important roles: formation of ATP, formation of nucleotide, and phytate formation for storage in seeds. If we talk about potassium, then this potassium is not a constituent of any organic structure. It is very important. It is not part of any plant constituent. It remains free in cell sap as a potassium ion, but make weak complexes with the organic structure. These weak organic complexes are exchangeable. But if we talk about carbohydrate, it is not a part of carbohydrate. Potassium is not part of protein. Potassium is not part of fat. Potassium is not part of hormone. Potassium is not part of vitamin. So, it is not part of any plant constituent, and it remains in plant as a K plus monovalent ion, but it has several functions in plant. It is essential, and the major function is enzyme activation. Enzyme activation, and it is responsible for enzymatic activity, and the biochemical process in the plant, physiological process in the plant are mediated by enzymes, whether it is photosynthesis, whether it is protein, whether it is fat synthesis, enzymes are involved. So, that is why potassium is involved in carbohydrate metabolism, protein, fat, whatever. And it is involved in physiological process like photosynthesis. It is involved in photosynthesis. It is involved in respiration. Whatever physiological processes are there, potassium is involved through enzyme activation. So, this is the important role of potassium. Then another important role of potassium is in osmoregulation. Since it remains in cell sap as a potassium ion, so it moves freely, and movement is more in plant and can move within the cell and cell to cell. That is why it helps in osmoregulation of plant, and it help in stomatal movement. Stomatal movement. Stomatal movement means stomata opening and closing, and since it is involved in osmoregulation, so that's why it affects the osmotic pressure of guard cell, which are responsible for stomata opening and closing. Whenever stomata are open, transpiration is there. When stomata are closed, there is no transpiration and water is retained in plant body. That's why from plant water relation or plant water status, this potassium is very important. So it regulates the plant water or water status in plant. It regulates water content or water status in plant. So this, in this way, potassium is very important, and this role is played by opening and closing of stomata through change in osmotic pressure of guard cells. Then another movement are also like photonestic movement. In photonestic movement, leaves are oriented towards light or influenced by light, or light driven movement are called photonestic movement. So in this movement, potassium is involved. Then some movements in plant are occurred due to the touch or mechanical force like Mimosa pudica, Chuimui. When we touch, then leaves become closed. So this is called seismonestic movement, and these are turgor related process. So that's why it is also involved in seismonestic movement. So the movement which are related to turgor related process, the potassium is involved in all turgor related process. So that's why it is important for light driven process or mechanical force induced process. So this is the important role. Then another important role of potassium is in starch synthesis. Starch synthesis, it is not a part of carbohydrate, starch, glucose, no, not at all. It is not a part of any constituent, any part. It remain free. But it is involved in starch synthesis due to activation of enzymes. Enzyme activation, this is involved in starch synthesis. So that's why the starchy crop like potato, banana, rice require more potassium. Maize, there is more starch synthesis. That's why these starchy crop require potassium for their starch synthesis for enzyme activation. So enzymes are involved in starch synthesis are influenced by potassium. So that's why this is the reason that if we grow hybrid rice, then the requirement of potassium of hybrid rice is more than normal hybrid, because the yield potential is high, starch content is high. So that's why hybrid rice is sensitive to potassium application. So if we apply the normal dose of potassium in hybrid rice, then we cannot exploit the full yield genetic potential. So in case of starchy crop, we should apply potassium. Then this potassium is also involved in disease resistance. It is important. Actually, this role is played by the enzyme activation, as well it is involved in epidermis formation. So disease resistance, insect resistance, it prevents the penetration of fungal spores and insect due to hard epidermis that is developed in presence of potassium. So insect resistance, disease resistance, and it prevents the lodging. It prevents lodging. So the tall crop like sugarcane, like maize, which are susceptible to lodging, and in this crop, potassium application can prevent this lodging. Ill effects of nitrogen, which occurred in the form of lodging. When we apply more dose of nitrogen, then more cell division, cell elongation, more plant height, and crops become susceptible to lodging. In this case, the application of potassium can minimize this ill effect of nitrogen by preventing lodging. So it also prevents lodging. So, and also improve the seed size. Seed size is increased because it is involved in sugar translocation. So it is involved in sugar translocation. So under the potassium deficiency, sugar translocation is poor, phloem loading is poor, phloem transport is poor, and that's why the transfer of carbohydrate metabolites from source to sink, means from leaves to seed, is reduced. So that's why seed size remain small. So that this sugar translocation is very important. So potassium is involved in phloem loading, phloem transport, and sugar translocation. That's why this potassium is known as quality element, quality nutrient or quality element. So these are some important function of potassium. Next is calcium. This calcium is important for formation of middle lamella, and this middle lamella act as a cementing agent, a bridging substance between the two cell wall. So that's why this calcium is important for cell wall stabilization. And calcium is also important for membrane structure. And in cell wall, middle lamella, as a calcium pactate. Calcium pactate is present, which is responsible for middle lamella formation and the cell wall stabilization. Another is membrane structure. In membrane, phospholipids are there, proteins are there. So this calcium acts as a bridging element between the phosphate of lipids, phospholipids, and this calcium, and it is the carboxylic group of protein. And membranes are made up of lipid and proteins, and this calcium acts as a bridging element between lipid and protein. That's why membrane integrity is maintained, membrane structure is maintained. So this is important for membrane integrity, membrane structure, and it prevent to make soil become leaky. If calcium deficiency is there, then cell become leaky. So this is very important role of membrane structure. Then secondly, calcium reduces the lipooxygenase activity. It prevents the lipid peroxidation by reducing the enzyme activity, this lipooxygenase enzyme. So that's why it is responsible for membrane structure. So when there is a proper supply of calcium, membrane structure is there, cell wall is there. So this is the reason whenever there is a calcium deficiency, then cell disintegrate, cells die, there is no further growth of cell, and this calcium is also involved in cell division. Cell division. Another important role of calcium is in as a second messenger. What is second messenger? The second messenger in signal transduction. Signal transduction. And so suppose this is cell, and bahar the outer of the cell there is a high temperature or low temperature, high temperature or low, or any pathogen infection, there is any stress, whether it is biotic or abiotic, then these signals of this stress, infection or low temperature, high temperature, freezing, whatever, this effect, biotic and biotic effects are signals are transmitted through calcium inside the cell, and some modulated proteins are involved in this signal transduction. So these signals are carried by calcium through modulated proteins. So this is important role of calcium in as a second messenger in signal transduction inside the cell, and accordingly cell responds. So it means whatever stress is there, that is carried or mediated by calcium. Then another macronutrient is magnesium, and this magnesium is important or essential component of chlorophyll. We have discussed magnesium is center molecule and 4 atoms of nitrogen are present. So whenever there is a deficiency of magnesium, then loss of chlorophyll, chlorosis is there. So yellowing is there. So this is the reason that whenever there is a deficiency of either nitrogen or magnesium, chlorosis is there, yellowing of leaves because of no formation or poor formation of chlorophyll. So this is important role of magnesium. Then another important role of magnesium is in ATP synthesis. Actually, this ATP is found by ADP plus inorganic phosphate, then it makes ATP. And here is enzyme ATP synthase enzyme. And for this enzyme activation, ATP synthase enzyme, magnesium is required. So this is the reason that ATP formation or synthesis is more when magnesium supply is proper. So in case of oil seed crop, because oil synthesis is there, more energy is required for oil synthesis. So magnesium acts as a carrier of phosphorus. So in case of oil seed crop, requirement of magnesium is more for the synthesis of this ATP, which is required for oil synthesis. So magnesium acts as a carrier of phosphorus, particularly in oil seed crops. So this is important, ATP synthesis. Another is that whenever there is a ATP hydrolysis, then magnesium attached with this magnesium. So this MgATP, this substrate is more active rather than single ATP, alone ATP. So that's why this enhances the activity of magnesium. So here magnesium plays two roles. Number one is in ATP synthesis by activation of enzyme, this ATP synthase enzyme. Second, the more reactivity of ATP, a more active substance as a substrate of ATP as magnesium ATP. So this is important role of magnesium. Then another important role of magnesium is in aggregation of ribosome subunits. So magnesium acts as a bridging element for the aggregation or joining of ribosome subunits, and these ribosomes are responsible for protein formation. So that's why this magnesium is required for protein. Another role of magnesium is that this magnesium is required for many enzymes. As we have discussed that it is required for ATP synthase enzyme and another enzyme which are involved in CO2 fixation, means photosynthesis, and ammonia fixation, that is nitrogen synthesis, nitrogen biosynthesis, yeah, protein synthesis, we can say protein synthesis. So in this way, magnesium is required for protein synthesis through aggregation of subunits. Number two, enzyme activation which are involved in ammonia fixation, as well as magnesium is required for photosynthesis. So whenever there is a magnesium deficiency, protein synthesis is reduced, photosynthesis is reduced, and protein formation is poor. As far as energy formation is also poor, though phosphorus is present, but their formation into ATP is reduced, and this ATP is required for phloem loading, unloading, and carbohydrate partitioning. So that's why this magnesium important role is in carbohydrate partitioning, means movement of carbohydrate from source to sink, or from one leaf to another leaf, or one cell to another cell. So this carbohydrate partitioning from chloroplast to cell sap, then further cell sap to another cell constituent. So via energy formation and enzyme activation. So whenever there is a magnesium deficiency, so whatever carbohydrates are manufactured in this leaf, starch is present, okay, and then after the starch formation there is a magnesium deficiency, then these starch remain in leaves and not translocated to another plant part or another seed or flower. So that's why magnesium deficient leaves have more starch content, while other show the deficiency. So this is the reason that why magnesium deficient leaves show more starch content, because of there no further translocation which is mediated by energy, and energy is influenced by magnesium content. So this was the important role of magnesium. Then sulfur. Sulfur role is same as nitrogen in amino acid synthesis, and two amino acids are very important, cysteine and methionine. These are two important amino acids, and by cysteine there is a formation of cysteine. So three amino acids, particularly two, cysteine and methionine, and third one is cysteine. So these amino acids are manufactured in presence of sulfur, or sulfur is the essential part of these three amino acids. So 20 amino acids are required. Out of 20 amino acids, 3 are manufactured in presence of sulfur. So that's why it is important for protein formation. So whenever there is sulfur deficiency, there is no protein formation. Nitrogen is not fully utilized. Actually, nitrogen is synthesized or metabolized into protein. When there is a sulfur deficiency, then these three amino acids will not manufactured, not prepared in the plant. Then there will be no protein formation, and nitrogen remain as such in nitrate form or any other form, and not will be converted into protein. It means nitrogen utilization can be fully exploited when there is a proper supply of sulfur. So both are directly linked. So this is important role of sulfur in protein formation. Then another important role of sulfur is in chlorophyll formation, and here chlorophyll formation is by enzyme activation. Actually, this sulfur is not part of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll part are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and magnesium. So but this chlorophyll formation is in chloroplast, and chloroplast is made up of several type of proteins. Whenever there is a deficiency of sulfur, then there is no proper protein formation, no proper enzyme activation, and chlorophyll formation is adversely affected. Though sulfur is not a direct constituent or part of chlorophyll, but it affects the chlorophyll formation. So that's why whenever there is a sulfur deficiency, then chlorosis is there. Chlorosis is there, loss of chlorophyll. So now we have discussed that chlorosis is due to nitrogen because it is part of chlorophyll, magnesium and sulfur because it influences the chlorophyll formation. Another important role of sulfur is in oil synthesis. And how it involved in oil synthesis? Actually, this is part of acetyl coenzyme A. Sulfur is constituent of this acetyl coenzyme A, and this is precursor of oil synthesis. So that's why sulfur is required for oil synthesis. So in case of oil sweet crop, whether it is a mustard or soybean or groundnut, sulfur requirement is more because it is involved in acetyl CoA formation. So generally asked in examination, why sulfur is required for oil synthesis? For the formation of acetyl coenzyme A. So that's why sulfur requirement is in crucifery. Crucifery member is more than Leguminosae family member, where nitrogen requirement is more also, and this Leguminosae requirement is more than Poaceae family or Gramineae family. So crucifery like mustard. So generally asked in examination of this trend, mustard, groundnut and soybean, whatever oilseed crops are there, requirement is more than chickpea, leguminous crop, chickpea, pigeon pea, or moong bean or urd bean, whatever is more than requirement is rice, wheat, maize, sorghum, etc. So this is the trend of or sequence of sulfur requirement, and this is generally asked in examination. And this is due to the requirement for oil synthesis and protein synthesis. So here protein synthesis is more, here oil synthesis is more, and that's why these two family have more requirement of sulfur. Another important role of sulfur is in formation of glutathione. glutathione is very important constituent of plant and it play many role in plant. So first important role of this glutathione is antioxidant. So it is a powerful antioxidant. So when there is proper supply of sulfur, more formation of glutathione, and it act as an antioxidant and it act against free radical oxygen and prevent the membrane damage against their oxidation. So it is very important because so that's why sulfur is, act as an antioxidant through glutathione. Another glutathione act as a conjugation. Conjugation is binding of this glutathione with the foreign material, foreign part or which are toxic, and this foreign material are known as xenobiotic. Xenobiotic. For example, xenobiotics are those material which are not natural occurring and these are made by man. In nature they are not present, but they are manufactured, prepared by man. For example, herbicides, atrazine. Atrazine is xenobiotic. So when we apply this atrazine into the plant, then there is a conjugation of glutathione with this atrazine or any other xenobiotic and reduce their toxicity. So this conjugation is very important in reducing the toxicity of xenobiotic material. Then third one important role is in phytochelation. Phytochelation actually when soils are contaminated with the heavy material like cadmium, mercury, etc. Then plant absorb this heavy metal and this heavy metal interfere with the plant physiological process. Then this glutathione conjugate with this or bind this heavy metals and reduces their toxicity. So these are three important role of glutathione. Then sulfur is involved in formation of vitamin B, and nitrogen is also involved in vitamin B. Sulfur is involved, and sulfur is involved in vitamin B1, that is thiamine, and it is involved in B5, that is pantothenic acid, and also involved in B7, that is biotin. So sulfur is involved in protein formation, chlorophyll formation, then in this vitamin B, then glutathione. So these are some important role of sulfur. And sulfur is also involved in secondary sulfur compound like glucosinolates, secondary compounds like glucosinolates. These are important in mustard family, crucifery family, allines compound. These are occur in allium family like garlic, onion, and these secondary compounds act as a insecticide or antifedrant whenever insect or any other pathogen infect, then it act as a safe mechanism. And this glycosinolate also act as a storage form of sulfur. So these secondary compounds are important in preventing the plant cell as well as in storage of sulfur. So these were important role of micronutrients. Thank you very much.